guys like Charlie, there's a whole group of people have like shifted the Overton window. There's Bitcoiners that have done it. There's people in DC.
It seems obvious that this was a very professional operation.
I was a little bit surprised by how Charlie was talking about Israel in the last few weeks. Charlie was generally like a white pill guy. He's a positive guy. The Overton window doesn't shift without brave people actually taking action and doing things and making sure that it goes that way. It doesn't happen by accident. Do you know why people use Tether? You think they're going to give you a license to spread dollars around the world while JP Morgan twiddles their thumbs over here? A lot of these payment processors, they were doing Bitcoin stuff in 2015. Dell was accepting Bitcoin. Microsoft was accepting Bitcoin. It was clunky and the tools weren't that good and the wallets weren't that great. Then they just kind of gave up on it.
It's one of those weeks, Will. It's fucking insane.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to gather the thoughts with, I mean, not only the last 24 hours, I think the last 7 days. We were just talking before we hit record. That woman, Arena, was murdered on the bus. We had pretty, I would define them as catastrophic disclosures about vaccine studies on Capitol Hill. The Maha hearings earlier, I think they were pretty profound. And then obviously, less than 24 hours ago, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which really hits close to home. I didn't realize he was 31. I knew he was young. I didn't realize he was that young.
It's incredible, right? His accomplishments to 31 are unparalleled.
Yeah. And I'm recording this on 9/11. It's just weird vibes this week.
I must point out that, you know, we've been talking about doing this for like weeks, maybe even over a month. Plan was just to come in and talk, you know, some good old fashioned Bitcoin, right? But obviously we're going to have to mix in some other stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Charlie stuff, I'm sure we'll touch on potential motives, all that stuff. But I think just in general, you speaking to the profound impact he had as an individual on political discourse in the United States, particularly for younger generations. I mean, again, I didn't realize he was 31. I didn't realize he started Turning Point USA when he was 18. So he's been on this grind for 13 years. And whether you liked the way he operated or not, I think it's undeniable. He had an incredible impact on younger generation, particularly how they viewed politics, and most importantly, how to engage in political discourse. I think that was, I mean, obviously the worst part about this is that he was a young father with 2 children. I believe his son is 2 years old. We'll never know his father. His daughter, a couple years older. Both lost their father. But I think the way in which he was assassinated at one of these events, which have become rather famous, where he sets up a tent and engages in Socratic dialogue with people who vehemently disagree with him. I think that is desperately needed these days, and the grace and patience and respect he brought to those conversations is something, even though I didn't agree 100% with everything Charlie said over his career, like I really respected the format, and it's a shame that he was assassinated during one of these events, because it's not only an elimination of his life, but an attack on the medium itself, which as Bitcoiners, I think hits pretty close to home, because we attend a lot of these Socratic events, whether it's debates or discussions about the protocol, and they're very effective in terms of helping people better understand a subject or have tough conversations about things.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would start out by just saying, like, there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this who actually followed Charlie Kirk, like, closely. And I was not one of those people. Like, I mean, I was aware of him. I even met him once, briefly. But I'll probably say some stuff where people are like, I've listened to 100 hours of his stuff, and I'm not one of those guys. You know, I didn't listen to 100 hours of his stuff, but I'm aware of what he was doing. I was also surprised how young he was. I just assumed, I don't know, you know how hard it is to become persuasive?
Yeah.
It's so hard to become persuasive. And he was, I mean, if anything, like, that's kind of what he's famous for. He was like a super persuasive person, like unbelievably persuasive person. That was like his whole thing, was that he could go to these college campuses and he can engage with young people and you could persuade them, or at least like change their mind a little bit, even if not all the way. It was like that talent, like, is something I think about all the time, like in work, but mostly in like a work environment, like sort of retail persuasion, one-on-one, teams of software developers, stuff like that. Not like wholesale persuasion the way he does it, which I can't even imagine being good at that. It was always fun to watch the clips and stuff that would come through, because I know how hard it is to become good at something like that. It's a very difficult thing to do. And to see someone that was 31, I mean, he was like that though. I mean, the last like 3, I'm kind of aware of him post COVID, and it's an incredible talent. Like, it's very rare talent to have, especially that young. I think of guys like Christopher Hitchens and stuff like that. Like, he didn't strike me like that until much more advanced age. Who's like, master persuader in that sense.
Yeah. No, I think my exposure to Charlie Kirk is very similar to yours. I never tuned into his podcast or watched a whole stream of those debates that he would do, but picked up the clips and I would watch those. And then to your point, extremely persuasive. And the way in which he was assassinated is just very, very jarring. It's just to get two sort of jugular artery videos in 1 week of people dying in terrible ways is
it's not good to watch. It's not good for anyone to watch, but I will say, like, one whatever. I have one Charlie Kirk story, which is this January I was in DC for the inauguration, and we went to dozens of events and stuff like that, but we went to one aptly that is there's a political a Republican donor, Foster Freeze, who died recently, but his family still runs this event in DC during the inauguration. It's at I believe it's called the Museum of the Bible. So we were going to the Museum of the Bible. It's a very beautiful building, great museum, all this. But the event was an odd collection of characters, like not the typical inauguration event that you would expect. Tucker Carlson was the MC. You kind of expect that. The guest of honor was Conor McGregor. Okay, we're already getting into weird pairings. There was a lot of media, but there weren't that many politicians at like an inauguration thing, which is a little bit odd. And there were a lot of young men there, right? That were there to listen. And what was really funny is you have Tucker, biggest media personality in the world right now. You have Conor McGregor, you would imagine for young men, like one of the coolest guys around, UFC fighter, champion, all those things. And then in the back, Charlie Kirk wasn't speaking. He was just in the back listening. And when the stage event was basically over, I went over to talk to him, and he was every young person there. You got Tucker here, you got UFC royalty over here. Everyone's mobbing him. Anyone under 30 was just on Charlie, and I didn't know that much about him. I found that is like interesting. I was like, huh. You got all these like political celebrities, athletes, stuff like that, and like Charlie's the guy that all the 26-year-old guys want to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I think the message, the politics aside, but I think his sort of life message. I mean, obviously he was devout and very open Christian, and
loved God.
Talked a lot about the Bible, Scripture. Would basically verbatim recall lines of Scripture during his debates, and it was extremely impressive. But I think I would not be surprised if he was being mobbed by the young men in their 20s, because his message was sort of hopeful in an age of I don't want to say despair, but it's tough times. We know that. That's why we're in Bitcoin.
Well, that's a notable thing. Like, from what I've seen, of course, and if someone's watched hundreds of hours of him and disagrees, but from what I saw, and I see tons of clips, it's not like I was unexposed, is that Charlie was generally like a white pill guy. He was a positive guy. Obviously when you're debating, there are like negative aspects and you have to like, win a debate, but like, I don't know, most of the stuff I saw was actually like hopeful, nice, respectful, biblically oriented. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's a good person.
Yeah. No, and that's what the young generation needs. And not in any way trying to compare myself to Charlie Kirk, but it's the message we try to get here. I mean, we talk about it a lot, like get married, have kids, and do good things, be a good person, go to church. Mm-hmm. I think it's a simple message that is being well received by the young men in the world today, because it's the only one that seems to make sense. And I guess this dovetails into potential motives and all that. Like it was just weird how it unfolded. And I sent a tweet out, and I don't know whether I need to amend it, but it's like literally 30 minutes after it happened when it seemed like at that point in time that somebody in the crowd had been arrested for shooting him, that old man. And people were saying, found.
We're like immediately, I think some people were saying like, we know who he is, we know his name, it's not the guy, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I worry about, particularly. I mean, again, going back to the political climate in the country right now. Everybody was already pretty riled up with the death of Irina. Mm-hmm. The video. I mean, she really died last month, but the video was released last week. Political tension's high, and then you just throw jet fuel on the political tension fire.
That is kind of notable. I mean, like, when you're talking about motives, there's a lot of things, but I remember, we were walking to Cooper's here in Austin, Texas. I hope the freaks like that I'm holding down the fort here in the TFTC studio. But Parker and John and I were walking down, and we were talking about Irina. And one of the things I had told them at that moment was like, I find it really interesting, like how much guys like Charlie Kirk have like sunk into this issue. I think it's probably the only time I've mentioned Charlie Kirk in a conversation in months, and I was like, no, this isn't going away. And we were talking about the guy who was offering the money for the murals and stuff like that. Yeah. And that, this wasn't going to go away anytime soon. It was like a galvanizing moment. And Charlie was a big part of that, right? Like, I mean, I think that was over the last few days, one of the, if not the only, thing he was really focused on in his public messaging. And I'm sure that when you compare something like the Irina, murder with something like, George Floyd's death and like the aftermath of that, and like how people are galvanizing on the right a little bit around this, is like, you might want to stop that momentum.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Well, either stop that momentum, or, I mean, if you're thinking extreme adversarially, and I think there's nefarious actors out there who want to accelerate and really drive the country to a powder keg to divide and conquer. Like that's what I think it became clear to me last night. Like, again, going back to the tweet that I wrote, that I sent out quickly after he was initially shot. I think my perspective on what happened yesterday changed quickly. I mean, it seems obvious that this was a very professional operation. There's many people out there saying, "Oh, you don't need to be a Green Beret to make that shot from 200 yards," which may be the case. However, I think if you think about where he was shot in the jugular, and the fact that there was sort of a distraction because that guy sort of held his hands up and said it was me and it wasn't him. And then
it certainly, I mean, like, sorry, it doesn't take a Green Beret, but it might. Like, it seems like a pretty well executed plan. that as we're recording this, I don't think the shooter, or at least they've announced that the shooter's been found. So pulling that off, getting away, I doesn't seem like an amateur job.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's been verified yet, but I saw Steven Crowder was sharing a screenshot, apparently, of internal correspondence at the ATF, where they found a rifle in the woods with the clip, and I believe there's 3 more bullets left in it, and they had Antifa, like, trans stuff written on it, which...
Oh, yeah.
If true, not confirmed yet at this point, but if that's true, that screams like set up, just trying to lean into that, accelerate the debate.
Sure.
And there's a lot of talk about civil war in the United States right now, and that is the last thing we need.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Count me in on the non-Civil War side of things. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. No, yeah, last thing we need, but like, I don't know. Yeah, you got that. I didn't hear the Crowder story about Antifa, whatever. That doesn't, I mean, if you talk the way Charlie did, sorry, not the way he talked, but about what he talked about, yeah, there's going to be a lot of leftists in particular who are furious with you. Anything from, his, love of God to, the, sober understanding on, gender and sex to an evolving view on Israel. It's like, there's a lot of people that would not like a lot of those things.
Yeah. And it never really occurred to me, but it made sense yesterday. Like, he was 31, and if you look at the corpus of his resume over the last 13 years, like, I would not, like, when it was first brought up yesterday, when I saw somebody talking about, like, I was like, oh yeah, this does make sense. Like, he could have been president one day if he continued.
Oh, sure.
Down this path.
31-year-old with master persuasion skills who has a young generation like galvanized politically. And
is a moderate. It's like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the other surprising thing, is that, like, I have generally right-wing views. Some would say far right views. And I always found Charlie to be pretty plain, like, he wasn't a far right extremist or anything. Very far from it. I've met quite a few more extreme people, including, when I look in the mirror. So yeah, that side of it is actually, that he, to be persuasive in that way, you have to be palpable to like a lot of people. And he was, I mean, he was very, very popular in a non-extreme way. Yeah.
Well, obviously we're less than 24 hours out.
Yeah.
Fog of war. Probably need time for this to develop before we make any takes on the situation. They're well rounded with enough information, but yeah, it stinks to me. That's all I'm gonna say. And
it smells terribly.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I got into it last night, and I don't want to go too far off on a limb, but I will say I was a little bit surprised by how Charlie was talking about Israel in the last few weeks. Both with Megyn Kelly, I saw the clips from that, and on his own show talking about, like, what funds, like, leftist Marxist ideology in the United States. That type of talk gets you in trouble.
It's gotten presidents killed before.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's impossible not to talk about. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and the fact that he hadn't always been on that.
Oh, he was one of the biggest Israel defenders for the longest time.
Was he Pentecostal? I'm guessing something like that.
He's a believer in Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah. Which sounds Pentecostal to me.
Yeah.
Which is the biblical Israel is modern day Israel, sort of believe. It's like Pentecostal, Southern Baptist, although I don't think he was Southern Baptist, but I don't actually know. So
no, yeah.
that would be in line with that.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. And then there was Netanyahu was tweeting about his death before it was officially announced. And
really?
Yeah. I
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't follow him.
No. It's we'll see. We're less than 24 hours.
All right, we're gonna let it go. Yeah,
we're gonna let it develop. But no, it stinks. It's
no, it stinks like crazy. I'm sure you'll probably have Whitney on after me or something like that, and have a real discussion on this of someone who actually knows how the world works in that way.
Yeah, she's actually supposed to come on, hopefully next week.
Oh, nice.
Times are tough. I guess just to wrap this up, because we do have Bitcoin stuff to talk about.
Sure.
Actually, not. Because whether Charlie, the political landscape right now is it's crazy. You have a bunch of this week is crazy beyond that. French Prime Minister kicked out essentially. God damn it, these reactions. I'm sorry, maybe listening. The Apple reactions go on automatically.
Yeah.
French Prime Minister kicked out. Japanese Prime Minister resigned. You have an overthrowing of an attempted communist coup in Nepal. They blew up, they burnt down their parliament building. You have China last week with their military parade meeting with Russia, India, Brazil, and the misfit countries, if you will. Then you have Jerome Powell and Donald Trump going at our fiscal and monetary side of things here in the U.S. getting more chaotic. You had that BLS jobs report revision come out where we have almost
there are no new jobs.
No new jobs.
But they just lied about it for. Yeah. It's very funny to see that I don't. That's a lot of things you just mentioned. I don't have takes on pretty much any of them. Although I will say on Nepal, though, one thing I will say is that congratulations to Jack Dorsey. It seems like every time he invents a new product, we had the Arab Spring when Twitter's coming out. Now we got the uprising Nepal and the BitChat, usage is shooting up like crazy there. It's like he seems to be a agent of change himself.
Yeah, it is. Have you used BitChat yet?
I have. I was only using it on Mesh though, so it was just me and my brother or something like that. I tried it actually at a diner down there, and there was one other person. And they didn't say anything back to me. So what is amazing to me is that mesh networks actually work now.
Right.
That's cool. I've been following, or not following, but I was interested in it, maybe 7 years ago, and it just wasn't very good. But it seems like mesh networks are really good now.
Yeah, and I think the way that Jack and Callie are building out BitChat and incorporating Nostr and things like that to not expand the range, but add functionality like online functionality to help people communicate from further distances. It is incredible to see. And the fact that in Indonesia there was another uprising, but BitChat download went up significantly there as well. And so people are using it on the ground, and it makes sense, particularly if you're going to protest. And they're protesting, I think in Nepal specifically, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was just basically internet blackout on social media. So all right, download this app, we'll communicate via mesh. You can't shut this down. It's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. In I don't know if you remember during the Arab Spring, Twitter was the thing.
Oh yeah.
At the time, it was very, I don't know, from an American standpoint in New York City at the time, it was very exciting to see how, there's something like Twitter was being used. It's just funny to see that, BitChat is now, the Twitter of 12 years ago, 15 years ago.
That's what I'm searching right now. Did Egypt, I believe Egypt sued Twitter.
Did they?
No, they didn't. They did not. Egyptian government, along with others in the region, tried to block to restrict access to Twitter and Facebook.
Sure.
In late January 2011.
Yeah, 2011. There we go.
And it went as far as shutting down nearly all internet and cellular data access nationwide for several days. The stifle connection.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like that. I remember 2011 very well. I mean, that's when I learned about Bitcoin. And so, like, you know, the Arab Spring, the Occupy Wall Street stuff, which I actually think is 2010. But it's all, you know, in that little range. I don't know. I'm getting those vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here in America, I think in the United States specifically, it's like, it does seem like we've been under a color revolution for something. I think COVID, BLM, like made that very clear. Like,
yeah.
It seems like the political
remember,
apparatus.
you can't spread COVID at BLM events.
No, you can't.
That's the important thing. You can at church. You can spread COVID at church, but you cannot spread COVID at a BLM event.
Yeah, you have to be able to express your discontent with.
Or at 5-star restaurants in Northern California.
No,
that's fine too.
French Laundry.
French Laundry. Yeah.
Sup, freaks? This rip of TFTC was brought to you by our good friends at Bitkey. Bitkey makes Bitcoin easy to use and hard to lose. It is a hardware wallet that natively embeds into a 2 or 3 multi-sig. You have one key on the hardware wallet, one key on your mobile device, and Block stores a key in the cloud for you. This is an incredible hardware device for your friends and family, or maybe yourself, who have Bitcoin on exchanges and have for a long time, but haven't taken the step to self-custody because they're worried about the complications of setting up a private public key pair, securing that seed phrase, setting up a PIN, setting up a passphrase. Again, Bitkey makes it easy to use, hard to lose. It's the easiest 0 to 1 step, your first step to self-custody. If you have friends and family on the exchanges who haven't moved it off, tell them to pick up a Bitkey. Go to bitkey.world, use the key TFTC20 at checkout for 20% off your order. That's bitkey.world, code TFTC20. Over 10,000 investors downloaded the original How to Position for the Bitcoin Boom when Bitcoin was just 27K, and it called for 120K plus. That target's now hit. So what's next? Tour de Meester is back with the 2025 edition, refreshed for the mid-cycle moment, packed with new data, new insights, and Tour's latest price outlook. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to charting our way through chaos. Tour's new 30-minute Q3 2025 presentation explaining why this bull run might be only just beginning and what forces could push it to the next level. Read the first ever mid-cycle report from Adamant Research at unchained.com/TFTC. That's unchained.com/TFTC. And also, if you're using Unchained, you can use the code TFTC for $50 off any of their services. Go check it out. No, but it seems I can bring this back to Charlie Kirk. Like, it seems like we have been getting to a critical point of people throwing their hands up, and many moderate leftists even sort of coming to respect the policies of Trump, particularly tough on crime, because it's like, hey, we live in a society. We need to enforce the rules and the laws that have been laid out. By not doing so for many years, like, you're making places really unsafe where you can't even ride a train.
You kind of have to experience it a little bit to appreciate it, right? Is like, you ever seen that meme that's it's like the guy laying on the ground and it's like an out of body experience, and the caption I saw on that was the libertarian leaving my body every time I smell pot on the street.
Yeah.
That basically sums up my politics at this point in life. And I was a very dedicated libertarian when I lived in New York, 2011, 2012, like that time period. It was also like Bloomberg's New York, and I'm making wisecracks about, trying to ban big sodas, taking our choice away from, I don't even drink soda. I was also younger. I was in my 20s. It's very easy to grow complacent with the rule of law and law and order when things are going good. It's very easy to look at that and just say, like, well, but there's these minor injustices or these minor inconveniences that maybe we should fix. And then you're downtown in Austin, 15 years later, and there's literally dozens of criminally insane crackheads running around, and you have to think about moving your office, right? And so, like, you get that little bit of experience of even just a little bit of chaos, like oh, we're just not going to arrest people if they steal stuff under $500, right? And I hate to say it, but like I think basically every like Baptist woman in 1994 that lived in Waco was essentially right about the world in general. Like gateway drugs and all this stuff. It's just like, yeah, you get a little bit of chaos and look what happens. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel safe. Of course they're going to say, like, oh, it's the safest time of it. It's like cooking the books,
Yep.
just like CPI, the jobs numbers are fake. CPI is fake. Obviously the crime statistics are fake. Obviously people who live in downtown San Francisco or even downtown Austin where I live know that it's worse than it used to be. Clearly that is true. So you introduce just a little bit of that, and it's easy to look at someone like Trump who has this, sort of law and order philosophy. And even if you're younger and you have those idealistic views, I was in Bloomberg's New York. It was a very contained, safe environment. I don't even remember seeing crimes. But these people do. They see it every day.
Yeah. I'm bringing this back. That's my biggest worry with the assassination of Charlie, is that we were getting to a point where even people who are left of center were beginning to say, hey, this is not like we can't have Ukrainian people escaping wars coming to the United States for safe harbor getting stabbed in the neck on a train. And yesterday's events could be used as a divide and conquer, like get away from that conversation. It's left versus right. Like if they try to frame this as some trans lunatic that killed him, some radical leftist trans. If that comes out to be the claim of who killed Charlie Kirk, I'm going to be very skeptical.
I will as well. Charlie's more important than that, I think. Has the eye of more important people than that, I believe.
Yeah. And that's what I sent a tweet out last night. Like, I think it's imperative to show relative restraint, particularly in the short term. Because I think that's what they want, is some misguided backlash and confrontation. Move people in the wrong direction, get them distracted, and hit them against each other.
What I think about the most is if there is a, an uptick in leftist murders, politically motivated or otherwise, just, could be general chaos of murders, or it could be political assassination type things. If there's an uptick of that on the left, I really worry, because imagine the backlash against the left. Little Norm Macdonald for you there.
Yeah.
Imagine the backlash. It wouldn't,
What was his joke?
That's what I'm really worried about here.
What was the Bill Cosby joke?
It was a friend of his says, the worst part about the Bill Cosby thing was the hypocrisy. And I disagree. I think it was the raping. I find that most rapists are hypocrites.
Yeah.
Well, I could just do Norm jokes this whole time if you want.
We could.
I'm
just sure. I mean,
but yeah, the whole like back, you already see it on MSNBC, CNN. I mean, I don't watch them, but I see the clips and stuff like that. They're already worried about the backlash, and it's like the backlash. I mean, like, you don't want it or anything, but it's like, I'm kind of worrying about the political leftist assassinations right now. That's kind of what top of mind. Yeah. In this moment.
Yeah. And and that was the other just disheartening thing. And because it is extremely nuanced, because there is a radical left that is reveling in what happened yesterday. And these are demonic, soulless people. And I do believe there is a radical left that does not want to engage in dialogue and try to figure things out. They want to brute force their terrible ideas and the rest. And we've seen this throughout history. I think a lot of people have been bringing up the Spanish Civil War and Franco and what happened there with the attempted, the communist regime there before it was overthrown. I mean, they were killing conservative political opponents.
Happened in Germany as well.
Yeah. Weird times.
Yeah, in terms of, top of my list, I'm worried about downtown Austin where I work and the criminally insane that are intentionally left on the street because, Jose Garza likes them to be terrorizing people on the street. He wouldn't do it if he didn't like it. Then it's maybe, worry for some of my friends who are publicly, out there, more right-wing people in a world where those people are being targeted. Then like 7 things, and then maybe some backlash. That's kind of the list of my priorities right now. Yeah.
Sup, freaks? This rip was brought to you by our good friends at Obscura. Obscura is the first VPN that can't log your activity by design. Instead of empty promises, Obscura fully embraces the Bitcoiner don't trust, verify mantra. They can't log your traffic, even if they tried. Obscura believes that user data is toxic waste. In addition to private payments via Lightning, you can sign up with an account without having to give any personal identifying information. It's a beautiful thing. It's the VPN I use every day. It's incredibly fast. You can go on streaming sites with it. They don't say, hey, you've got a VPN. It just works. So go to obscura.net. Use the code TFTC25 for 25% off an annual subscription. Obscura.net. Use the code TFTC25 for 25% off an annual subscription. Sup, freaks? This rip of TFTC was brought to you by our good friends at Silent. Silent creates the best military-grade Faraday apparel for your everyday life. Or in Bitcoin, hardware. Securing your hardware in Bitcoin is very important. You want to make sure you're not leaking any signals, Bluetooth, RFID, NFC. Make sure you get Silent apparel. It has patented technology that makes it impossible for those signals to leak. I've got the crossbody bag here. I keep my phone in it when I want to unplug and make sure I'm not being tracked by big tech and potentially the government. Easy in and out. They've also got a wallet that I've been using as my daily driver. I was using Ridge Wallet for a while for the RFID blockers. That is very thick and was big and hefty in the pocket. Now I have the Silent card holder, which acts as a wallet essentially. They've got these great sleeves for hardware wallet protection. If you want to make sure that you're not leaking any of those signals, NFC, the Q is NFC compatible. Don't want to leak it, just want to be double sure, protect it from EMFs. Put it in the bag. Go to SLNT.com/TFTC to get 15% off any and all the products on their store. Important to note, Silent is also a company with a Bitcoin treasury. They accept Bitcoin for payment. So if you're on a Bitcoin standard and you're looking for military grade Faraday protection for your everyday life, go to SLNT.com/TFTC. You'll get 15% off.
That's, I think, part of any of this is these events, these tectonic events, is they're meant to jar you, shock you, get you discombobulated, and force you to make bad decisions, where I think the best course of action is to just really lean in and focus on what
do your thing.
Do your thing. And so like us, Bitcoin, like I think a lot of these, I'm not going to say these political murders to be solved by Bitcoin, but I think we believe that Bitcoin can bring about a better incentive framework that takes away a lot of the funding mechanisms for a lot of the terrible stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that a lot because you have to figure out where to focus your energy, and for me, especially over the last couple of years, because it's very easy to get too cynical. I mean, I've gone through modes of that, obviously, and just like obsessing over black pills and my conspiratorial mind, swirling, and that's where like even like stoicism doesn't help me on that type of stuff. I tried it, didn't work for me, but what seems to have worked for me is like focusing on family, focusing on church, focusing on like being productive and, doing stuff. And I have thought about this a little bit. Is it Jimmy's book over here?
Thank God for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Oh no, fiat ruins everything. Or people say Bitcoin fixes everything. And sometimes I'll mention that to more casual friends and like, really, fiat ruins everything? Like, I don't know. What about, sports? I'm like, well, yeah, I can make the argument that fiat does ruin that. And so it does. I don't think I'm over rationalizing it too much, is that it is a white pill, and it is a very rewarding thing to, see a chaotic world and things that are popping up that are not pleasant and take you away from the things that bring you joy and that you should be focusing on to be productive and have purpose and things like that. Because it feels very good to have this outlet, in the Bitcoin world, where I do believe that the people working on it are working on something that can fix a lot of these problems, and that fiat does indeed, as Jimmy says in his book, ruin everything, and that's not really too hyperbolic. So I do feel what you're saying there is being productive, working on Bitcoin, because I can't even imagine how I would feel productive outside of, being civically engaged in local or national politics if I weren't working on Bitcoin. I don't know what else would bring me to like, I'm actually doing that. I mean, I'm sure there are things, obviously, like, you need people, working in factories and farming and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's obviously a purpose in that, but for my psychology, it's like, it feels very direct, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like pertains to all the crazy shit going on in the country. It's been laid bare in the last 8 months. Like, fiat was funding a lot of these insane leftist NGOs and groups that are basically indoctrinating college-age students and injecting this mind virus into not the masses, but a portion of the population that has really terrible worldviews and understanding of reality and how it works. I think that was exemplified with some of the reactions on TikTok and other. But yeah, you said you wandered on the blue sky. How terrible was that yesterday?
Doesn't feel good, Marty.
No.
It didn't increase my, love of my neighbor. I'll put it that way. So yeah, that was rough. But there's, I don't want to fill my head with horrific thoughts and things like that. But I think it's important to see how people are reacting to, an event of this magnitude. And it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah. And here we go. Confirmed by the Wall Street Journal, or Wall Street Journals didn't confirm it, but is reporting on an ammunition Charlie Kirk shooting engraved with transgender anti-fascist ideology.
I mean, plausible. Doesn't seem right to me. I'm sure those people don't like him as well.
Oh, they definitely don't.
Yeah.
But he would engage in civil discourse with them. But I think there's many people who could recognize that those people probably did not like Charlie Kirk. And if you're looking for a patsy to blame something on.
Yeah. That would be probably choice number one.
Yeah. It's like, that's the other thing too, which is actually optimistic, silver lining. White pill, the propaganda is getting so bad. And
it does get easier to spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, like, the vaccine thing earlier this week, I'm sure you saw the Bernie Sanders doing a press conference with a bunch of doctors behind him and a sign that just says vaccines work. You're just kind of like brute force this thought that any thought that the vaccines, whether that's childhood vaccines or particularly, I think it's very obvious now, the COVID vaccines, were not safe and effective and were actually detrimental to the health of the people who took them. But like the propaganda, like, is just getting so bad. Vaccines work. It's like, you are literally.
Look, I have 7 actors behind me that say so.
Yeah.
That's an important thing. Yeah. The performative, it reminds me of Joe Biden receiving his vaccine on a production set.
And it was like rubber too, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly.
No, I mean, actually, we have a connection on that. It's one of your YouTube strikes. Was I had a doctor during COVID. I got COVID. I gave it to everyone in Miami at one of the to you, to all my friends. So like 4 days after me, all my friends are getting sick, and I had gone to this doctor who was a rancher in Wyoming / doctor, great man, Doc Woods, and my other neighbor had told me like, hey, you need to go see him. He's great. And I was like, dude, I'm fine. You know, like I'll write it out. But I was pretty sick. I didn't feel good. And so I go in and he's telling me, this is months and many, many months before like Peter McCullough and those guys go on Rogan and like this stuff becomes a little bit more known, is Doc Woods had just said like, you're going to take monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, vitamin D, all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know what any of this is. Like, can I just like not do anything and just be okay in 5 or 10 days? And he's like, yeah, just promise me you don't get the vaccine. I didn't really have a super strong, I wasn't going to get it, but I wasn't like if a doctor had told me I really needed to do that at that time, maybe I would have done it. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I'm not like, I wasn't thinking about it all that much, to be honest. And he just said, all you have to do is promise me you won't get it. And that was like a big, weird moment for me. And then he went on your show after that because you guys got sick. You guys got all the horse medicine you could take. Mm-hmm. Everyone got better, like very quickly.
For me immediately.
Yeah. And so now when you watch, when you have experiences like that, and it's not just me, it was like all of our friends, like everyone basically that I talked to in Miami got COVID, and everyone got better. Everyone, and I found out only later when McCullough goes on Rogan, I called Woods and I was like, hey, this guy is saying like the exact same thing you told me like 4 months ago. He's like, yeah, dude, I send him all my data. Like I'm doing the McCullough protocol. And I was like, oh, okay. Man, yeah. I don't know how doctors communicate with each other. Yeah.
I mean, that was a crazy time because if I recall, Doc Woods and I didn't even talk about the vaccine because I don't believe it was.
I don't think that was really the point. I think it was about treatment.
It was right? It was about early treatment. And
censorship, of course. Doc was being censored, was until very recently, still sort of under that barrage from the, I don't know what it's called, Wyoming Medical Board, whatever. He got fired from his hospital, literally for giving out ivermectin, or prescribing it to people. Didn't have a single death. He was treating for the most part, like the most at risk people,
his age,
very old, and no one ever died while he was there. Got fired. Few people started dying in the same clinic.
I mentioned Doc Woods on my episode with Jessica Rose and the fact that our episode got censored because it's like, it was insane back then.
Yeah.
That Doc Woods at the time we recorded, he was 72. He's probably well over 75 now. Humble man, good man, trying to do good by his patients. Hey, very soft-spoken, kind-hearted gentleman. And you could tell he had dedicated his life to a small community in Wyoming for decades and for trusting his gut and trying to treat his patients in the way he thought was best. He was thrown by the wayside in his 70s. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah, unbelievable. But like it is, I don't know. I mean, COVID's very formative, I think, for everyone that went through it, as especially, I mean, I'm sure, the kids have if you were in school during that time, I'm sure it's formative in a very different way about, being let down by adults. But like as an adult, like working during that time, it makes the propaganda easier to spot. I think where I would have been more skeptical about early claims of deception and things like that. Now, when I see Bernie Sanders with a bunch of actors behind him, talking about, how awesome vaccines are, it's a little bit easier to dismiss performative politics and performative pharmaceutical outreach.
Yeah. Well, I hope this Charlie Kirk thing doesn't stop the momentum that we had earlier this week, because I think that, the Henry Ford Center study that was brought forth during the hearing, the study that Jessica Rose and Kevin McClernand, who've both been McKernan, excuse me, both been on this podcast. They basically prove it's peer review studied, it's being replicated. They prove that there's DNA fragments in all the Pfizer vials and SV40, which accelerates cancer.
There's snake DNA in it. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to leaning into the vaccines work propaganda, it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, and that's, they make it so binary where it's like, you have to believe all vaccines work or you're a loon, where it's like, well, no, like, I think there's probably some perverse incentives in the pharmaceutical industry. And within
that's safe to say.
And within the 3-letter agencies of the government who are creating the mandates. And I think it's okay to question that. And we've got a lot of momentum going in that direction. We have a lot of momentum going in bringing back the rule of law and making sure that people are safe. A lot of momentum at the border, a lot of momentum from an economic perspective in terms of trying to depoliticize the Fed if you believe it's politicized. And then you have this happen yesterday. It's like, it's chaos. They like chaos. Chaos breeds bad decisions, and we're getting a bunch of wins. And then all of a sudden this happens. And guess what? It was an anti-fascist transgender.
Of course
that did it. So go into Portland and take care of it there.
Look, I don't know anything, but what I will say, like, to your point there, is the Overton window has shifted so much. Like, the idea of, I was totally one of these people, in 2017, like, I had a lot of cowardice running through my veins, going to implicit bias trainings and not saying what I actually thought, and, stuff like just being a pussy, like just being a wimp about this stuff. I would never, and to a certain extent, like, buying into some of the brainwashing. Some of it's not just like me, internalizing it. And I don't know. I used to say something about like Bitcoin and censorship, right? Which is, I would talk to people, and I still believe this to be true, but there are other aspects of, I'll say what I used to say. I used to say, one of the reasons, cold storage with keys that you control is so important, right? Is the censorship in the world, being able to say what you want to say without, negative consequences, just freedom of speech type things, being able to work on what you want to work on, being able to associate with who you want to associate with, right? Without having your bank account shut down or something like that. Do you think that's going to get better or worse? Right? Unanimous. Worse. I agree with that still. However, I'm starting to see more glimmers of hope. In the last 2 years than ever, that like this can be avoided because Bitcoin's actually working. The culture's actually changing. I still think you have to be extremely vigilant in everything I said. If you're in the UK right now, you probably feel that darkness more than you ever have, right this minute, the way I was feeling, 3 years ago or so. Yeah. Do you think this is going to get better or worse? And everyone's saying worse, right? In the UK, you're probably right there. I'm starting to see better. And I think that guys like Charlie, there's a whole group of people have like shifted the Overton window. There's Bitcoiners that have done it. There's people in DC and, stuff like that have done it. Is that I don't think there's nearly as much cowardice anymore. I don't think it's as easy to do that. And so basically I think we've made a lot of progress and we succeeded in the last 3 years. Yeah.
And not only is the Overton window shifted, but it is being affected as it pertains to vaccines. I think people have been making enough noise and highlighting a lot of doing the hard work to find the data, to surface it, to talk about it, to make it known. And then you have something like happened in Florida last week where the Surgeon General comes out and says, hey, it's not within the ethics of the field of medicine to coerce anybody to take anything against their will. So vaccine mandates in the state of Florida are over. We're not saying don't get the vaccines, but who are we as the state to coerce you to do so? That is a massive vibe shift from only 2 years ago.
Have you ever read the original Hippocratic Oath?
It's been a while. One? It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It doesn't talk about vaccines. Yeah, the do no harm, type thing. Yeah, look, I hope I'm not falling for some, Twitter reel, scam on this, but like I'm pretty sure two of the things in the original Hippocratic Oath are you can also never perform an abortion, and you cannot assist in suicide.
Really?
Yeah, it's not in the current one.
Yeah, well, those are forms of murder. But
yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense. That
This is injecting people with snake DNA, but you know, what do I know about snake DNA either? So maybe it's really good for you.
Mm-hmm. But then on the Israel front too, like not only was Charlie talking differently about Israeli influence,
oh sure,
in U.S. politics, we had Tucker on stage with like David Sachs and David Sieberg 2 nights ago, and David Sachs came out and stood up for Tucker as like, Tucker doesn't have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. Like Israel is a government, a state with an intelligence apparatus, and they do engage in statecraft, and it is okay to be critical of the Israeli government, where for the longest time it's been conflated. If you critique Israel and its potential influence over the United States, you are an anti-Semite, which is completely...
Yeah, what a bunch of losers that say stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
No, but, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I said it on a podcast. I went on the Coffee and Mike podcast, but it is like very obviously insane that we have like IPAC, and Israel does have very obvious influence over U.S. politicians and policy.
Me. Ted Cruz convinced me that AIPAC is fine, right? It's not weird at all.
Yeah, it's your senator, sir.
I know, right? I generally like Ted Cruz. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
It was shocking to hear stated that way. I don't follow politicians. Like I don't know every position that every politician has. I've actually talked to Ted Cruz about Bitcoin before, and I found him to be very bright, and so, and not that everyone agrees with me on most things. It was the logic of his conversation with Tucker on that seemed very strained.
I mean, just even the body language of that, back and forth was like, this is weird.
Yeah, it didn't feel good, especially someone who I'd had like a couple interactions with, where I was like, oh, this guy's smart, like he seems with it, and then I just didn't know his views on this stuff. Yeah. And it surprised me, to say the least. And I found it to be incredibly unconvincing. I've heard him be persuasive before. He was not persuasive there.
No.
Sup, freaks? Guess what? We launched a browser extension. It's called Opportunity Cost, and it helps you see the true cost of everything in Bitcoin, convert prices to Bitcoin as you browse the web. Opportunity Cost automatically displays fiat prices in Bitcoin or sats, helping you think in a Bitcoin standard. It works on Amazon, Zillow, X, your bank account, QuickBooks. You can convert everything to Bitcoin. It's really cool. It's also 100% open source, MIT license. We don't collect any data. All of the conversions happen in your browser on your local device. It's a great way to recalibrate your life and begin thinking in sats. Go check it out at opportunitycost.app. That's opportunitycost.app.
And I guess it's a good theme there, like Overton window shifting on Bitcoin too. Like I think.
Oh yeah.
The Overton window shifted dramatically, and maybe this is we got to find a natural segue to talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, we do need to talk about Bitcoin, but let's do it. Yeah. I talked to a lot of politicians about Bitcoin. That's changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it through the years. Crazy internet money, bunch of computer nerds, drug money, Silk Road, degenerate gamblers, speculators trying to make a quick buck, Mt. Gox era, continued 2017, 2020. Then obviously MicroStrategy comes out. ETFs announced, Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Executive Order. We're at this point, and people are talking about Bitcoin as a serious reserve asset that should be implemented in everybody's portfolio, from the individual up to the pension, the nation state, whatever it may be. It seems like that's becoming sort of table stakes now. It's becoming recognized as table stakes. If you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, you're an idiot. But Overton window still needs to move a bit, because it's like, hey, it's just a reserve asset. It doesn't compete with the dollar. It's good to have. And we both know that these monies compete, and ultimately Bitcoin will win out. And the window is just shifting towards that slowly but surely.
Yeah, I mean, it bears like repeating some of the things you just said too, is that especially for Americans, I am one, and therefore I have the best perspective of what this has looked like in America over the years. And, I know it's not particularly hip to, shill for, the government and stuff like that, but for the most part, with some very egregious exceptions, but for the most part, honestly, it's been nothing but green lights, right? Things are going our way, and to me, that's one, it's a little bit surprising, but it's also worth pointing out, like, even, the connection to what we talked about before, that Overton window doesn't shift without like brave people, without brave people actually taking action and doing things and making sure that it goes that way. It doesn't happen by accident, and it's not a coincidence that things have gone well here. I mean, heck, I'm sitting in Texas. What do we have? Somewhere like 5 gigawatts mining Bitcoin in the state of Texas right now, something like that, 3 to 5, somewhere in there. That's
30% of the network. Yeah.
It's nuts. That's insane. I mean, go back 7-8 years, I think it's probably the first time I was on your podcast, or that's not 6 years, 7 years. The idea of that would have been crazy. And you would have come up with all these reasons that governments wouldn't allow that to happen, that the local government, the state government, the federal government would get in your way. And then I'm not saying not to be adversarial thinking. Like, I'm not trying to, again, it's not cool to, shill, but it has been kind of green lights. We're having very advanced talks about not whether the United States government should own Bitcoin, but how they should procure it and how much, right? It's not even really a question of whether they should have it. Like, that's already, in the executive order, and we have legislation, that looks to be very popular, working on that exact thing. So, honestly, it's hard to embody my, say 2014 self thinking about Bitcoin and, where Mt. Gox goes down and all this type of stuff, happens, it's kind of a dark time. It's been pretty nice. It's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
And the resistance has not been particularly effective or strong. The one I see the most right now that, like, some people hail as, is progress on the Bitcoin front that I really disagree with is the stablecoin side of things. I don't think that that's particularly helpful for Bitcoin. I don't know.
I'm neutral on them. I'm like, as a Bitcoiner, as an investor, as somebody who would like to see incumbents who have acted what I would deem to be nefariously in the past,
sure.
Would like to see them stumble, like lean into stablecoins.
Yeah.
Like go for it. I do not care. Like you're
totally agree with you there.
You're on. Yeah. You're focusing on the wrong thing.
Like, I find it to be a tragic lack of focus.
Yeah, don't interrupt the enemy when they're making mistakes. That's my perspective on stablecoins and the people implementing them.
Sure. No, yeah, I mean, I get that. I think the way particularly the way the U.S. is thinking about stablecoins is like very funny to me. Where they're like, no, it just needs to be regulated exactly like a bank. The issuer.
That's what you're getting at.
It's like, oh, so just like ruin what stablecoins are good at. Like the whole point of stablecoins. For getting around capital controls. Immoral capital controls in many cases. But it's like, okay, well then it's not, you're just not accomplished. It's like a tragic lack of focus. It's like, we're doing this exciting stuff over here. But to your point, as it serves as a useful distraction, like, sure, whatever.
And it's funny, like, I think the Genius Act, I mean, you probably understand it way better than I do, but it seems like Circle was pissed that Tether was winning all this business and crushing them. And so they and a couple of others who were also not happy with Tether eating their lunch went to the government and said, you need to regulate this. And it's like, okay, be careful what you wish for, because if the regulatory moat that you so wish for turns out to be too restrictive for the end user, like you're not going to have a market at the end of the day.
It's like, do you know why people use Tether? It's not like getting rid of them all of a sudden because you have this thing. It's like, you think they're going to give you a license to spread dollars around the world while JP Morgan like twiddles their thumbs over here, that they're not going to be like, well, why can't we do that? Like they would do it if they were allowed. If they could, disrupt South Korean, sovereignty and allow you to, dollarize that economy and like get money out and then like, of course they would do it. You think just because you get rid of Tether that all of a sudden like you're going to be it's so stupid.
Yeah. And it is, and like this, I mean, I'm not saying I would want companies like this to fail, but like Stripe, the Collison twins, like leaning in. It's like, how are you guys missing that? Like, we're going to build our own L1 blockchain for payments and stable coins. It's like
everyone goes through the ride in their own way, right?
I think we talked about it, but there's one of I believe it was John Collison was on the All In podcast earlier this year, and he still doesn't understand the Lightning Network and other second layers exist on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't, I'm hoping that Zaprite can like show people that like we obviously, I work at Zaprite, right? And we're doing Bitcoin payments and we talk to these companies. I haven't talked to the Collison brothers about it. But we do talk to Stripe and we talk to Square and we talk to the fiat processors and we talk to the big marketplaces and things like that. And like, what I would say is that like what you're saying about a lack of knowledge about how Bitcoin is different from 2015, you saw this in the mining space. Here's a good comparison. You remember when people first started going out to do like the flare mining and like none of it worked and it kind of poisoned the well for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
I was there.
And then it started working, but like the people that had been burned had a really nasty taste in their mouth about it. And they were just kind of stuck in what that looked like in 2017. But in 2021, it looked very, very different, right? Well, a lot of these marketplaces, a lot of these businesses, a lot of these payment processors, they were doing Bitcoin stuff in 2015. They were, Dell was accepting Bitcoin. Microsoft was accepting Bitcoin. Patreon was accepting Bitcoin. Shopify was announcing, all these like different, and then it didn't really go anywhere. Right. And it was clunky and the tools weren't that good and the wallets weren't that great and the support wasn't that great. And then they just kind of gave up on it. Right. Or they just let it sort of die on the vine. Right. And so just like those off-grid miners had this really bad taste in their mouth, I would say it's a little bit less than that. They don't feel particularly burned because they didn't invest that much capital into the whole process, but they do have a negative view of it as being unuseful at the very most. And so a lot of what we work on at Zaprite is talking to these companies and making them see that like, hey, a lot's changed in the last 10, 6, 2 years when it pertains to the Lightning Network, its support, its reliability, its accessibility, its liquidity, all those things that or that it exists at all, right? And it's not just on-chain transactions that take 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 50 minutes to settle. And so like we're talking to those people all the time. And like I think for like Stripe and places like that, they've gone back and forth a lot, right? And I think right now they're seeing this thing that they don't have any previous negative views on, and they're like, okay, we'll give that a shot, see how it works. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. It seems like the whole stablecoin landscape is very confused because it looks like they're reintroducing the double coincidence of once problem with their sort of sideload stablecoin.
Sure.
Project. Sure, there's bridges and all these mechanisms, but it just complicates it, adds cost and UX friction.
Once you start getting into atomic swaps and all this, it's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, just a really easy thing to do over here. I don't know. I'm a simple man, Marty. I've been building products, on the internet for a long time here, and I try to avoid complication wherever possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just let's do a comparison too. Okay. I think you're in a very unique position at Zaprite, sort of being in the middle of all these companies. So you compare Stripe's strategy as it pertains to Bitcoin to somebody like Square, which I know you guys have worked closely with. You've implemented it into the Square processor into Zaprite as an option. And it seems like their team's pretty engaged in Bitcoin. And like you look at Block as a parent company of many subsidiaries that are focused on different niche markets. Square, point of sale for small, medium-sized businesses, Cash App, retail, consumer app, Proto now, the mining thing. Like, they seem pretty all in on Bitcoin and have taken a long view. I believe Cash App launched by Bitcoin at the end of 2017. So
right around then. Yeah.
Going on 8 years now, and slowly but surely maturing with Bitcoin, building out their product suite. It's been pretty impressive to see them do that.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I know that like there's attack vectors even from the Bitcoin side on companies like Square, Block, Cash App. I don't know. It looks pretty good to me. You know, they built unique things. You know, they built different things. It's not exactly what I would have built. I see it as all good in general. People can buy Bitcoin, people can sell Bitcoin, people can store Bitcoin, people can transact in Bitcoin. It seems like they're hitting a lot of good notes there. They're funding Bitcoin development outside of their own company. So no, I'm not cynical about that. And I do see like a strategy that I can only assume is going to pay off very, very well in the future, right? I do think that they do share a fatal flaw with Stripe, which is that maybe COVID actually helped a little bit, which is, you know, they're very San Francisco, Silicon Valley centric, right? And, you know, as a broad generalization, that San Francisco, Silicon Valley culture never really understood Bitcoin. Obviously, there are tons of individuals and stuff like that, but as a startup culture, as an entrepreneurial culture, as a business building culture and funding culture, never understood Bitcoin. So I think that that's even more impressive that Square has made the progress that they have, given that that's sort of the root of their business as well. You know, I used to visit down there in like 2019 or so. I went to their offices a few times, talk about Bitcoin stuff, and there's several wonderful Bitcoiners there, but it was very clear to me that that was not a company-wide thing. That was a top-down mandate that we were going to do this. And I think obviously it's been manifested the most on the Cash App side. That's where like it's been a good business for them. They make money off of it. They, you know, it's profitable, you know, all those things. But I have no reason to believe that these other things won't. I'm most excited, honestly, about the point of sale. You know, at Zaprite, we built like this like very, you know, we call it a companion app point of sale, just sort of the, you know, calculator screen that you could do on your phone if you also had like a terminal. But our hope was we just did it for people that just needed a little bit of access there. Our hope was always that we would either integrate with another point of sale, which we still might do, or that someone like Square would just do that part of it. And then we'd handle the rest, you know, over here in e-commerce and business invoicing and, you know, stuff like that. It's very similar to the decision we just made with our latest launch on ticketing, right? Was that my original goal was, we'll just... It's very good when you build businesses to have a lot of naivety, or else you'd never build these things. And so domain expertise when you're building something is the most overrated. And so I was just like, okay, we'll go integrate in with Ticketmaster or Eventbrite or something like that. And then I find out that like the whole way, or one of the major ways they make money is siphoning off transaction fees from the fiat payment processors, and they're addicted to it and they can't live without it. And that, you know, low fee transactions from Bitcoin actually is at the heart of their business model. And then you look at it and you're like, well, an event system is not actually that hard to build. And so we build that, right? I just wanted to be a checkout company, but we're actually becoming more than that. But I'm very glad we don't have to become a point of sale company, you know, in the Square, you know, Stripe, or I guess it's just Square world. Sorry, I jumped around quite a bit there. But, you know, the point being is that like those companies doing, you know, Stripe is taking a very different angle than Square on this. I think that, you know, David Marcus also has recently been talking about this with what I think it's what Stripe's doing. And just saying like, to take it from a guy who's been there, right? You don't want to do this. And of course, you know, he chose as his follow-up to Libra being, you know, working on Lightning.
Yeah. And now Spark.
Yeah.
With the state chains. And from what I hear, like people are really bullish on Spark.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it other than that we are looking at Zaprite and into integrating with it because it is something that's going to be, it looks like it's going to be the critical infrastructure to a lot of the wallet ecosystem going forward, for a lot of wallets. I know that like Wallet of Satoshi is back in the United States specifically because they're using Spark, and so I think that that's a good thing. I don't know what other wallets are using them yet, but it does seem like there's momentum building there.
Pretty sure Breeze implemented it.
Breeze, that's right. That is another one. Yeah. And so that's great for someone like us. Like, we don't operate a wallet. We're agnostic to the wallet that you choose. It's just we want you to get more Bitcoin, right? We want, whether you're business invoicing or you're selling something online, or you're running an event. The Bitcoin Park people here in Austin and in Nashville use the ticketing system now. If you're going to any of their events in September or NEMS in January next year, is like the whole point is just to get you more Bitcoin, right? And we look at the wallet ecosystem and we try to support as much as we can to say, come in here, bring your own wallet. We don't ever touch your money. And so I think Spark is actually going to open that up quite a bit. And we love seeing stuff like that. It's just more options for merchants, more options for individuals to get more Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into the ticketing. Like how hard or easy was it to build, and like could it be an event is it an overt like Eventbrite Ticketmaster competitor?
I never, when we started out doing it, like I always assume things are going to be way harder than they are. It's a good mindset to be in when you build software, but relatively speaking, events aren't that complicated. Now something like what Ticketmaster does, where their customers more like venues where you have seating charts and all that, it gets more complicated there, getting all that information. But like what Eventbrite does, where it's just, I'm doing an event, I want to issue tickets, I want to be able to, validate those tickets at a check-in, things like that. It's pretty simple, actually. And of course, we already had all the fun checkout stuff, right? So we just had to apply what we were already good at to these events. And what became very clear to us was that the integration path was going to be very, very long. We would integrate in a second to any of these systems, when it happens. But then we started actually using the product that we had built. And I was like, ooh, this might be better. Like, this is supposed to be a lightweight, and it is in some ways. There's a lot of features that are missing that you would get in like an Eventbrite that we are planning on building, like, say, transferring tickets. Like, once you buy them, transferring to other people. You can technically do it, but you have to kind of go out of band in order to do that. So I'm not claiming that feature for feature we've matched necessarily the legacy ticketing system. However, what I would say is that it is surprisingly functional. It is surprisingly nice. And in a lot of ways, it's already better because of the way we integrate both fiat and Bitcoin. It's easy, Apple Wallet has changed this a little bit on the fiat side, although most people are still using credit cards online and things like that, is that just the process of paying in Bitcoin, there's a lot of friction that gets taken out of the sale, both as like someone who's buying something, but for your merchant to actually like close a deal, to actually get conversions. If you're doing an event and you have to put in, what is all the billing information on your, credit card, all the stuff, or just show them a QR code and they can, zap over, the $300 for the event right away. The actual friction in the checkout process, because Bitcoin is put on the same level as fiat transaction methods, it's really nice, and the conversions come through. So, going back to your original questions, like, there are some things that are hard, but for the most part, it's not rocket science. It's a CRUD app, right? We've built those before, but we have great UX, great design, and more than anything, we have a great checkout process that helps event organizers convert sales.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to accumulate Bitcoin and you have something that is almost at parity with Eventbrite, like, why leave sats on the table?
Exactly.
Or complicate your path to sats by going fiat only and having to convert. And obviously, For those who are unaware of Zaprite, like this is not Bitcoin only. Like you'll have an event, you'll use Zaprite to sell tickets to that event, and people can pay in Bitcoin or fiat.
Yeah, I want to get ahead of something because we haven't. I don't know if we've ever talked Zaprite together. Maybe we have.
Yes, we have.
We have, me and you, like on the show. Okay,
I think so.
All I have in my head is war mode. that was so much fun.
We need to do that again.
We do. Those guys have already slipped up. No, I mean, I want to get ahead of, we don't have like a Bcasher mentality on any of this stuff. Like, obviously I'm building a product and it's a two-sided market, and I'm going to make both sides of the market a fabulous experience if you're a payer with Bitcoin or if you're receiving Bitcoin. But make no mistake, this is built, Zaprite exists for people to stack sats, for people to accept Bitcoin, for people who want Bitcoin. And everyone's like, well, who would, in the right mind, would, pay their hard-earned sat? It's like, that's not the point. The point is there are people who want Bitcoin. It was the motivation when I joined Unchained, right? Was I loved the custody model, and the feature I had in my head the entire time when I joined Unchained was buy Bitcoin directly to cold storage with keys that you control. Can I get the Unchained vault, and instead of buying over here and then sending it over, can I just have it go there directly, right? Same thing with Zaprite is that I want more Bitcoin. And so if I run a business and I'm sending out invoices, I'm realistic, maybe most of my transactions are going to happen in fiat. Fine. I'm going to accumulate the Bitcoin that I can by putting Bitcoin on the same level as fiat there. And for most of our customers get actually quite a bit of Bitcoin, but for some of them, minority of them, they'll be on Zaprite for 3 months. They'll get 0 Bitcoin transactions. 4 months, 0 Bitcoin transactions. 5 months, starts coming in, and then it goes from 1% to 3% to 5% of their sales. On the event side, I think that there's kind of two things. One is there's a lot of Bitcoin-centric events organized by people who are motivated to accumulate more Bitcoin. I want to help them. Those are my people, right? I want to help them get more Bitcoin. And getting Bitcoin for events outside of Prague, the Bitcoin Prague guys, they were so motivated that they basically built their own, system that's very, very good, but it's not extensible. It's not usable for other event organizers. Most of those people really do. They would prefer getting Bitcoin for the hard work they put on doing the meetup or doing the event or doing the, whatever they're doing. And then, I look at this and I'm, looking at other event organizers out there, and a lot of them maybe they're not as motivated as the big conferences that we go to, but they would like some Bitcoin. They would like if 5% of their sales came in through Bitcoin. These are people doing music festivals and stuff like that. So yeah, the motivation, here is very much, how do we allow these businesses who are motivated to receive Bitcoin do that? And I mean, without sounding egotistical or anything, it's like we definitely have built the best way to do that.
You definitely have. I mean, here at TFTC, if you go to tftcmerch.io and you buy one of our hats, we use Zaprite for checkout. Pretty confident 90% of the sales are in Bitcoin, and we have fiat as an option. But to that point, I'm going to screen share here, free ad for my favorite soap. But I think this is a perfect example. If you have a product that's good enough and you are
that's right,
demanding Bitcoin, like I love this soap. I've been using it for the last 6 months, and it is now my go-to soap. I'm buying a bit every month, and you can only pay in Bitcoin. And you guys have made it so I might check out, I go to checkout, put in the information. I can't do it now because I'm not going to put in my information, but you click this and it's like, I can only pay in Bitcoin. And this is a product that I have deemed so good that if the only way I can get it is paying in Bitcoin, I'm going to pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Powered
by Zaprite.
It's the way things work, right? The incentive is there because you can't get the product otherwise. We have a few merchants that are like that. I mean, so it's built for those people, right? And I don't know if any of you out there are, hosting a meetup and, doing any of those things or have an adventure yourself. I would encourage you to try it out. Like I'm pretty excited about this one. It's a really, really good product. And I think of the world in terms of really good products. And this one is one of the better ones out there.
What is the UX flow like? If somebody has an event,
Yeah.
you have a Zaprite account.
We focus more on the ticketing side of it than the event side. So if you have an event and, has a date and a location and all those things, it's there, but it's not, this isn't like a marketing website builder for your event. If you are on Squarespace or you're on some other, website builder, especially if your conference or something like that is bigger, you probably have a lot of marketing assets out there. Now you can use it as a standalone. It has all the information that someone would need, but we really focus on the ticketing aspect of creating those tickets. You have, more advanced features like, having a stock or a max order per buy. You have all those sort of familiar things that you would get in a more advanced ticketing system. And then you have this landing page, which is basically a muted or smaller amount of information about the event itself. And then you have, the list of tickets, increment them, buy them, and really, what we're really good at is the checkout side, right? Of once you've determined how many tickets you're going to buy, going there and being able to buy in whatever the merchant is allowing, whether that's credit card and Lightning, or that's on-chain and Apple Pay, any of those combinations are all there, and you get to determine how, what order they go in, if you add a discount or a premium to a certain type of payment. All of that's still there. Everything that people are sort of used to with our payment links and invoices and things like that. And then on the merchant side, you have 3 ways to check people in. We have a ticket scanner. It's a secret URL. You can share that secret URL with, if you have event volunteers or anything like that are checking people in. That will scan the tickets that are delivered via email. Those tickets, by the way, for your end customer, they can be added to your Google Wallet, your Apple Wallet, like any other real ticketing system. So you can scan people in there. We have another check-in process that's native to the actual web app that you can do as well if you want to manually check people in without scanning. And then, of course, you can print things out where we give you a nice list of everyone who's bought tickets and whatever information you've gathered about them so that you can validate their entry for like a offline backup. So there's 3 ways to check people in. You can undo it. There are some features that will come down, in the future, things like transferring tickets, things like, allowing, having a more sophisticated understanding of allowing re-entries. But for right now, for the vast majority of events out there, what you see will get you there.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's a well-baked MVP. I'll put it that way. It's definitely viable.
And like this, I think this part is still so cool to me. Like Connect a Wallet, like Cold Card being part of it, like the thought that you could have an event like this be a business and the sales, let's say it's a high ticket item, you're selling like $1,000 ticket. It's like, boom, you can send it right to Cold Card and have that in cold storage in your business wallet.
It is one of the things that event organizers struggle with a lot is that when, with any event, most of your ticket sales happen the closer you get to the actual event, right? But you have to put up a lot of capital beforehand to actually build out, the venue, the lodging, all the things that you need to spend money on. And so when you're also sort of subject to a payment processor that holds your funds for 30, 60, 90 days before they pay you out, right? Whatever their policy is, or can put a hold on that fund. You've heard this before, hold on the funds because of some, you got tripped up in some incorrect fraud automatic mechanism in their system and your funds are held up. Is that, especially for Bitcoin events, is like you might have obligations denominated in Bitcoin. So you're getting this stuff right away that you can then use towards the event, pay your people, pay your suppliers, pay your hard costs and all that. Is that getting the money directly to you is a huge advantage.
Yeah, it really is. And I can attest to that as a business owner, accepting both Bitcoin and fiat.
Yeah.
Sharing here.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah. I thought it was important to bring up the block because just help people visualize it for anybody watching on YouTube. And
If you've ever done it, it feels very familiar. That's one of the things I wanted to make sure is that, like, if you're used to, if you run an event before, you're going to see most of what you need right there, right now. And of course, it's going to get better over time. We just launched it, I believe on Monday. So while it's a young product, it is pretty fully baked.
I mean, just having Apple Wallet functionality alone, I think that is what people, I mean, that is what I've come to see as a must-have for events. Like,
sure.
physically getting tickets these days is, or even like having to go to the email and find the QR code.
Yeah.
That's like, this is the old way of doing it. Like, just being like,
add it to the wallet.
Yeah, I took our oldest to the Phillies game this summer, and it was just like, boom, went to Ticketmaster, had the tickets on my phone.
Sure.
And it was very easy. And then, like, tickets now, it's like NFC. You don't even have to do the QR code. It's just like, boop, boop.
Yeah, right now we're still doing QRs, even on the Apple Wallet side of things. Funny enough is, like, I go to a lot of sporting events and stuff like that. The QR is actually faster for checking in, which is a nice thing. You've done it before. You put your phone up and the guy's like moving it around and trying to get the NFC thing to work. NFC is one of those things we do want to still support, but in our test of lining up people at Pleb Lab and scanning them in, is that the QR reader, even on the Apple Wallet, much faster actually for getting people in.
That's interesting.
Sorry, it's not necessarily as much faster. It works the first time more often.
Yeah. Well, shifting gears a little bit, but
sure.
Really diving into the process of building this product is something I miss dearly about being in Bitcoin Park Austin, is being around you and others in the space, particularly as you implement AI into your production flows.
Sure. That's fun.
Let's talk about that, because I know you guys have really been leaning into that. Is that right?
Yes. Eventually I'll become a programmer because of it. I'm not quite there yet. I've done a little programming in my past, but I am decidedly not a programmer. No, I mean, there are definitely people that have leaned into this more than we have. However, I will say that, like, we're pretty motivated. We're a small team, right? So we have 2 full-time, 1 part-time developers. We're a team of 5-6 people. And so on the AI side of things, it definitely helps. Like what I've seen from people using Claude Code and Cursor and these models is that, like, even the difference in the last 6 months is shocking. We've even had very close to an entire a small, well-defined, simple bug that goes into our ticketing system that gets picked up by an AI agent that attempts to fix it and puts up a PR that then needs to be reviewed. We've had that process go through on very, very small things without human intervention, which is pretty wild. Yeah. And I know there's people doing more sophisticated stuff out there, but that's a really exciting thing to see, that, like, someone can put in a bug into a ticketing system, that an AI agent can pick it up, that it can discern what needs to be done to fix that bug. It can make a suggestion and create the code and put it up for review by a human. And that at least once we've had that happen to where we're like, all right, put it live. That's right. Yeah.
What was the bug?
I can't remember. It was, I don't want to call it trivial, but it was a very easy bug to fix. Right. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was small in nature. It wasn't super complicated, and we were all surprised. Now, and then, okay. but it's easy to extrapolate. Is what I'm trying to say. Is, like, that might have been a very trivial, small thing, but we're both friends with Amjad at Replit, and we're seeing the end-to-end processes that they're working towards. Right? Is that, like, he just came out with his whole you can get AI to write this code, but there's hundreds of hours that go into, like, maintaining it and, like, reviewing it and QAing it and doing all these things and rewriting it and refactoring and doing all this stuff. That's for building, like, an entire app. But in terms of, like, supercharging an individual's productivity, I've seen it be it is hard. I don't want to use the wrong word. It's shocking It is shocking walking into that world. Even on the product management side, writing specs and like coming up with the stuff, doing really research and stuff like that. Everything, the whole production line of software development, it's impactful everywhere.
And that's what I was going to ask. If you had to attempt to quantify, like from a manpower perspective, like how many more people do you think you'd need to hire to get the same results by, if you were to do this without AI?
All right, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to double check with Tom and Nate and Nick, who are doing all the programming on our side, to see if I lied to the audience, and I'll tweet if I lied or not. I would say they would say that it's as if we have somewhere between like 2 to 4 junior developers working with us on top of what they do, because most of these people are all like, we don't have any junior developers. These are very senior programmers that work at Zaprite right now. And my guess is they would say it's somewhere around 2 to 4 junior developers working with us, the way we're utilizing UI or AI right now, which is not even its full extent. I would also say that, one of those junior developers is John McGill, like our CEO. Like, he's getting a lot of PRs in these days, And I'm going to be following suit here. Like, John's more capable programmer than I am as a designer, but I'm getting a little bit jealous now. So like, even someone like John is in there with some of the easier tasks, and can use Cursor or Claude Code to get them there all the way.
Yeah. And if we're trying to quantify that monetarily, let's just say junior developer makes 150.
Yeah.
On the conservative
somewhere around there. Yeah.
So you're saving
in
between,
Austin,
saving between 300 and 600 grand a year.
Yeah. And more than anything, for a company like ours, it's not even saving money. We're just getting to do stuff we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, because we didn't have the money to spend that on that anyway, or we didn't want to spend our money that way. Right. And so all of a sudden our output, Zaprite is not a tiny project. It's not a huge project, but it's not a tiny project. And what we've been able to accomplish with a very small team is, honestly, it's just not really possible, 10 years ago. Like, you don't build an application to Zaprite's stature with 4 or 5 people.
No,
just not a thing.
It's so crazy.
That's shocking. It fits my personality so much. It's like every time a company gets big, I want to go start another one, And knowing that, like, maybe I've stumbled into a world where the company doesn't have to get big for the product to get big. That would be very fun for me. And then we'll see if I just have commitment issues. And
well, it is. I think you're a fascinating individual, because you've seen both ends of the spectrum, being very high up at Stack Overflow for many years.
Talk about AI. Yikes. Yeah.
Are you willing to tell your Stack Overflow AI story?
Oh, I'll say a little bit about it. Is that, one is, I worked at Stack Overflow for 8 years. But all that time I was into Bitcoin, but I was very excited about Stack Overflow. It was an incredibly rewarding business and product to work on. And one of those things where it's like, I could even rationalize how I was helping Bitcoin at the time, the Bitcoin Stack Exchange, Peter Woola and Jimmy Song and Merch and all these guys still to this day, there's a huge repository of Bitcoin stuff. I helped start the Bitcoin Stack Exchange from the inside. That was very fun. And then of course, Stack Overflow itself and the aid it was to programmers, it's fun watching. I like watching all these AI companies getting so psyched on their work, especially when it comes to what they're doing in the programming world, because I lived that. Like, I remember when Stack Overflow would go down and what Twitter would look like. It's like, well, can't do my job today. It's like, it was an impactful place to work. It was very fun. And the product was very good until the end. But there was this moment, like, I don't know, I want to say it was 2018, 2019, where chatbots, you'd hear a lot about chatbots, and it's the same thing we're talking about now. It's just the LLMs, but they just weren't very good yet. They're very clunky, but it was all the buzz in Silicon Valley. And while Stack Overflow wasn't a Silicon Valley company, we were very attached to that culture, even though we were in New York. And of course, all of our clients and everything were in Silicon Valley for the most part. And so chatbots were kind of the rage, right? And I remember we were working on an integration with Microsoft on Visual Studio where you could kind of do some of the things you can do now, which are like you could highlight code and then it would, come up with this chatbot basically inside Visual Studio and say, here's why you're having this bug, based off of Stack Overflow data, using a neural network that no one knew how it worked or anything like that. That was really, really fun. And the only problem with that, it was an unbelievable product, except it just didn't work. Like the UX was great and like all these things were really cool. It's just, you just got wrong answers. It was like, and I remember when Joel left and everything, and we were getting, new management and some stuff like that. It was, like I couldn't help but just, tell all the new guys that came in after Joel, or really just the new CEO. It wasn't like a whole management change. It was really just CEO. Was just like, yeah, but imagine if it did work. Wouldn't this be the greatest product? He was like, no, but it doesn't. So we're going to focus on this other stuff. I was like, but it might, and of course, eventually it did work. And Stack's not really a part of it, unfortunately. Or I mean, I know they're trying, and I don't want to be too gloomy on it, but I think maybe Stack's had its day in the sun. And
well, yeah, and I would imagine that a lot of these coding LLMs specifically probably trained off of a lot of the information on Stack Overflow.
I mean, of course they did, right? I mean, yeah. Well, that was the other thing is it's all Creative Commons. That was the case the whole time. We had tons of knockoff Stack Overflows throughout the years, especially in China and Russia in particular, that were, just because all of the data was Creative Commons. And that was very important to Joel when he started out and like was a very noble thing to do. And it was in direct response to, Stack Overflow had a boogeyman that they were trying to unseat, which was Experts Exchange, where you had to like go pay for answers and all this stuff. But it was, one of the reasons for its success was that it was Creative Commons. So people could go in there and, create unimaginable value for the world of programmers, right? The value, I mean, like the way people would talk about Stack Overflow in 2017, 2018, 2019, it was so crucial to the productivity of the programming workforce. It was indispensable, right? In the same way that Cursor and Claude Code and all these things are becoming indispensable now. I mean, that was it, right? And a lot of that value, though, was created because it was Creative Commons. Like, people wouldn't have contributed as much if they knew that we were just going to monetize their answers and keep it in this walled garden. It was about as close as we could get as a for-profit business of being like kind of open source, was open sourcing all the question answer pairs and the voting and all that type of stuff. And some people, the promise was always, if we do a bad job, you can take the data and start up your own thing with all that. Like, it's your data, it's not ours. And it's both part of its success and part of its demise. At the end of the day, it's because I don't think anyone broke any laws or any user agreements or anything training off of that. Now, I do know that they have some form, and I'm not privy to what Stack Overflow's been doing or their strategy or anything for the past 5 years, but I do know they have some agreements with Google, OpenAI. I think they're getting paid something, but I don't think it's I don't think it is correlating with the value that Stack gave those very well.
Yeah, that's a fascinating time.
Yeah.
I mean, Stack just was a very necessary product. Like, as you said, increased the productivity of the software engineer workforce massively, and it's like this connective product company to the AI world.
Yeah, but going back to Bitcoin saved me from becoming a has-been, which is like, it would have been very easy. I remember, I mean, part of it's just being in your 20s, but I remember like building in, the early 2000s, when Stack's coming alive in 2008. It's like I would look with contempt on the people who are like, yeah, but I built GeoCities. I'm like, who cares? GeoCities was a huge deal, and now I'm that has been, except that I get to keep on building really amazing stuff with Bitcoin. So I don't define it wasn't my last chapter. So
Yeah.
that's good.
And I know we're running long here. We've had a very robust, meandering conversation about many different topics. But one thing, just to really lean into the Bitcoin side of things, what you're building at Zaprite.
Sure.
One question that we'll be asking portfolio companies at 1031 at a retreat this year, which I'm fine to open source on the podcast right now. But it's what doesn't exist in the industry right now that Zaprite probably won't build, but you think should be built that could help you guys?
Oh man. Just on the software side, not on the policy side, because I would change a lot of policy things as well. Geez, I mean, it's hard to narrow down only because, anything that money touches that Bitcoin is not predominantly featured in right now, I think that, Bitcoin will be there. So, on the Zaprite side, there's all these integrations I want to do, there's all, I don't want to rebuild Patreon. I just want you'd be able to use Patreon and accept Bitcoin. I don't want to rebuild YouTube. I just want you to be able to be paid in Bitcoin if you're already a content creator over there. Right. And so there's, we chose to build business invoicing in a very robust way, or the ticketing events, event tickets in a really robust way. But, we're not going to build YouTube, and we're not going to build Patreon, and we're not going to build all these places where people that run businesses. So there's kind of two things. There's one is you can do what Zaprite's doing and try to integrate with them, or just pick your point, or you can go build YouTube. You can do that in a Bitcoin centric way. Podcasting is a little bit interesting because there's been a lot of podcasting tools. Adam Curry and stuff like that have been trying to make sure that content creators there can accept Bitcoin. But then there's all the ancillary stuff. And I know that there are some things that are working on this. So I'm not trying to badmouth any startups that are out there trying to solve these problems. But a lot of the financial tools around accounting, right? It's not there yet, right? It's still a little bit of a struggle. There are good products out there. I would say we're still waiting for those products to become great, or for the existing infrastructure around accounting to become great, right? There's, the treasury management, the Castle guys are working on it. There's all sorts of stuff like that. There's different ways, I like what the Anchor Watch guys are doing. I feel like there's a lot, custody's in a lot better shape than it used to be. There's endless ways to play with that problem, right? That are suitable to very specific industries, types of businesses, things like that. I would say that, gosh, what else have I been thinking about recently? I think that on the, other side is I worry about with AI, Bitcoin miners. I don't worry. Sorry. Worry is the wrong word. Bitcoin miners are going to be fine. They're vultures. They know how to survive, but, they have a lot more competition for power now. The AI stuff is power hungry. And so I would like to see, Bitcoin companies that are also power producers actually behind the meter owning power production. So there's a lot of products out there and things out there I'd like to see. But I know from our side of things that, we're going to try to integrate until it's impossible to do so. And then we'll build it ourselves.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say on the electricity side. And before I get to the electricity side, just on that point, reason we're bringing this up at 1031, and just want to see if there's ways that companies in the portfolio can collaborate. And then number two, just also to highlight the massive opportunity that exists out there. There's still so much to build.
There's so much to build. And I'll throw it out there. We have a talent problem. We need more talent coming into Bitcoin. We just need it. And domain expertise is overrated. As long as you have a positive view of Bitcoin, your skill set, whether you're a software developer or a salesperson or a marketer, it's like we really do need those people working at Bitcoin companies.
Yeah. And just to tie a knot in the bow of your Bitcoin mining point, I think
here we go.
This chart highlights like this. The miners are going to get, if they're consuming electricity at these rates, it's not going to be profitable. It's up to 19 cents per kilowatt hour on average in U.S. cities.
You're kidding. Oh, no, is that retail pricing? It's not industrial.
Average price electricity per kilowatt hour in U.S. city average.
Okay.
But this is not a good chart for the United States, and not only.
Unless Bitcoin's $1 million with the current hash rate, then it's fine.
Yeah, then it's fine. But I think this is a bigger problem for the U.S. generally. I think electricity is the raw input of.
Yeah, we got to build it. Everything. We got to build nat gas plants. We got to reinstitute our coal plants. We got to. Nuclear. I don't even like talking about nuclear. It's just so state captured. Build natural gas plants. Build coal plants. Build solar plants. I don't care. Build solar plants. They're great.
Yeah. No, but a lot of our conversations have been about CPI and how it's bunk. And it's funny because you get this info from the Federal Reserve and the source is the BLS, which creates the CPI. And you just look at this cost per kilowatt hour in cities and it's up 35, 40% in 5 years. That doesn't seem like what's actually being reported. We need more generation. And I wrote about this chart last week because I had a feeling, an intuition, a knowledge that electricity prices were going up based off of my monthly payment, but I hadn't taken the time to look at this chart, and it's jarring. This jump. That is, and then this one here, it looks like we're breaking away again.
It's going straight up. That's the wrong type of up and to the right.
Yeah.
Well, we also have a new entrant into the space that is not price sensitive.
No.
But they also, you know so much more about this than I do.
They're burning so much. Like, I wonder, they're...
At some point, they will become that. Yeah,
but it is crazy because, as we discussed here, like, the productivity of AI is undeniable. Like, you've seen the videos we've generated. It's like, we have a team of 3.
Yeah.
And we're generating videos that probably would have cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in a week for $200 of tokens.
Sure.
It's insane. But with that being said, there's a ton of, it's just this sector of the market's being flooded with money. Whether or not these companies are actually profitable and burning this much cash is sustainable, I think, is yet to be determined.
Yeah, I know that the programming side of it is sustainable because, if you're paying a mid-level programmer $200,000 a year and you can profitably sell them an AI agent, for $300 a month, it's like, that's a no-brainer. And some of the other applications for it, I don't know if that'll be profitable, but certainly for the programming world, it's going to be profitable.
Yeah.
I'll also say, one of the fun things is, I know everyone knows you as, Uncle Marty, the podcaster, but like, you're also quite the product guy. Like we got to do this a lot together. And even the stuff we played with really early on, I remember the Vercel tool, VO or V0. That now is just incredible. Just getting over the one hump of you can't iterate on a previously done image or CSS file. You had to start over from scratch, and now that you can actually go from something and not just say like, no, try it again, be better here. It's just like, no, take this bit of it. The building UIs and building mobile flows and stuff like it's crazy. That we were playing with that like 9 months ago, and I was like, it's almost useful. Now it's great. And you're able to employ it not just in your videos, but you have to set up web stores and you have to do all this other stuff. I'm sure you're using it there too.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And that was like, I vividly remember you pulling me into the room in the park, and it was just for wireframing, but it was crazy. Even then, how you were.
Yeah, that Vercel tool is incredible. And then they had some open source models that we played with. I'm very bullish on the open source side right now as well. I have some friends, and I've seen Tony and the Maple AI guys, exclusively focus on the open source models in their private AI chats, but also like people running them locally. That's looking like something that we didn't get with the first wave of the internet, right? You never got private search. It doesn't really make sense, right? Is that there is a side of the AI side that is actually exciting and sort of antithetical to the way early internet companies grew by basically monetizing spying on you, right? And that while a lot of these AI companies are going to spy on you, no doubt, is that you actually have a viable alternative here, which is very exciting.
Yeah. It's I'm happy we're ending on this. Very gloomy first half of the conversation, but there are things to be optimistic about. We have tools to make the world a better place, to make better products, to do things. Never doom.
Never doom.
Never doom. Things may be dark.
Go to church, have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live the way Charlie would have wanted you to. That was,
there you go. Right there.
Yeah. Well ended here. You enjoy your day.
Yeah, you too, man.
Keep crushing it. Go to Zaprite.com. Check out the ticketing app. If you're a Bitcoin or a business owner and you're not using Zaprite for invoicing, do it. I've been using it for 3 years now, and it's only gotten better. Our revenue in Bitcoin is going up consistently as it's just, I think it's just like the thing in marketing, how many touch points until you get a conversion. For us, how many Zaprite invoices with the pay in Bitcoin option do we have to get before people just say, I'll pay in Bitcoin? We've seen that go up significantly.
I love hearing that. That just makes me so happy.
Yeah. So thank you for building it.
You're welcome.
All right. Peace and love, freaks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of TFTC. If you've made it this far, I imagine you got some value out of the episode. If so, please share it far and wide with your friends and family. We're looking to get the word out there. Also, wherever you're listening, whether that's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. And if you can leave a rating on the podcasting platforms, that goes a long way. Last but not least, if you want to get these episodes a day early and ad-free, make sure you download the Fountain podcasting app. You can go to fountain.fm to find that. $5 a month, get you every episode a day early, ad-free, helps the show, gives you incredible value. So please consider subscribing via Fountain as well. Thank you for your time, and until next time. Okay.